Today I'm excited to be joined by Adam Hulse, one of my inner circle members. Adam is the director of LM Finishers, a SprayCork render business based in Devon. And Adam is going to be sharing his incredible growth results. You see, he's 7 times the growth of his business. He's doubled his net profit margins. And on top of that, he's booked up 9 months in advance for his most profitable service that he offers. Sounds great, right? But it didn't used to be this way, because Adam, just 15 months ago, was a busy, full plasterer, struggling to earn a wage, not generating any leads, and working ridiculous hours. So I want Adam to share the strategies that he's learned with you so you can implement these into your business and get the same results. Grab your notepads, grab your pens and your tablets, make some notes. Adam, welcome to the show.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us today, Adam, because I know for sure that the knowledge that you're going to be sharing on this episode is going to help so many more people. Okay, so Adam, where I like to start on these episodes is take it right back to the beginning so we can get some context to where you were and where you're actually now, because your growth is incredible, right? But you didn't set up your business from scratch like most people do, because your why and the purpose behind setting up your business were completely different. So are you happy to share that?
Yeah. So I set the business up back in 2021, and that was purely for flexibility, basically. My wife's got a spinal condition that she was diagnosed with back in about 2018. Multiple surgeries, constant appointments back and to the hospital for scans and checkups and things. 2 children that needed to go to clubs, to school, to this, to that. She was unable to drive and do much of that. Her recovery times were months at a time. And I just needed to be at home and needed to be flexible and there to support all of them. So having a job and being employed just wasn't working for me anymore. We needed the flexibility in life.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can imagine that, and this is the reason why we're saying, you set your business up not necessarily to make loads of money or anything like that. It's purely the flexibility that you needed for your family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is interesting, this, because you're a tree surgeon by trade, right? So how comes you didn't set up a tree surgeon business and you went into becoming, to start off with, a plasterer?
So it's just basically where I live in Devon. It's saturated with tree surgery companies. It's a big trade down here. So it was almost too competitive to try and set up. And I knew a lot of the other companies and things anyway. The startup costs for it were just huge and way out of our sort of budget at the time to be able to even contemplate doing it. But the plastering was something I'd been doing on the side for a while. So it just seemed to make more sense to go for that, really.
Yeah. So how did you end up getting into the plastering side then? Because I know initially you started off doing Venetian plastering, didn't you? So how did you get into that? Because going from like a tree surgeon, swinging a chainsaw around on some ladders up a tree, to actually skimming walls or, doing Venetian plastering, it's massively different. So how did you get into it?
So it was actually my uncle. He runs a company that does Venetian plastering and micro cement and things. And he was just showing me the stuff, and I really liked it. I thought the Venetian plaster looked really good. So I decided to learn how to do it and get trained to do it, and hopefully then start offering it originally on the side of doing tree work still. But it turned into our focus, really, if that's what we wanted to do.
Okay. So this is back in 2021. So you're now a plasterer.
Yeah.
What challenges were you facing back then as a one-person band plasterer setting up in a new trade, you must have hit some pain points. You must have had some challenges, particularly as you wanted flexibility in time back, because we know that most trades, men and women, they ain't got time. So, what were some of the challenges that you were facing?
Being new to the market, no one knew me. I had no reviews, sort of no history. We just popped up out of nowhere. So it was hard to find work. We were paying for a lot of our sort of leads at the time and stuff, quoting against companies with reputations. So we weren't winning as much work as we wanted. And it didn't really give me the flexibility, if I'm honest. I was actually spending more time working than I was before.
Right. Okay. And what were you, this more time working than you did before? What were you actually doing then?
Well, it was like, on-site plastering all day, but then straight afterwards I'd drive off out and look at 2 or 3 jobs, which in Devon can be an hour's drive each way or something. Then I'd get home and think I've got to get that quote done really quick and send it off, because the quicker I get it in, I might win the job then. So before I knew it, it was, midnight and I'm still sat up working.
Yeah. Classic mistakes that we all make, aren't they? And we
Yeah.
and we know that now. But back then, when we all first set up our business, I don't think we fully understand and realize the commitment and time that it's taken us to run a business, because of all them new learnings and new strategies and everything that we've got to bring to a business. So at this point, then, given the fact that you set up your business to get that flexibility, what negative effect would this starting to have on you or your family? Because now it sounds like the grass is not greener on the other side. You've gone for this flexibility, and it sounds like it's not happening. So, what negative effect would it happening on you and your family?
I was just never present. Like, I was always out doing something. When I was at home, wasn't ever really in the best of moods because finances weren't great. Everything just became harder, basically, and felt really unstable. There was no when I was employed. At least you knew you had work, you had a paycheck. Where this all of a sudden became a bit panicky for us, which then had a knock on effect to my wife, I suppose, where because she was unable to work, she felt that she needed to be doing more to help with that side of it, but just couldn't. So it went a downhill spiral for a while, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay. So, you mentioned money were tight back then. So, in terms of let's say turnover, just to give us a bit of context on what you were doing in size wise, what type of turnover were you doing at that point?
To be honest, I didn't even have a turnover. I was just going out and charging a day rate of what I needed to earn that day. Um, Whatever I got materials at is what I was putting them on to the customer at. We just had no understanding of the figures and numbers in the business, of anything. As you always say, we were just winging it completely, and just basically trying to keep our heads above water.
Yeah. And at this point, I think I'm right in saying that you brought a labourer in as well.
Yeah, I had. Yeah, so I'd got a labourer by this point, and again, it wasn't really factored in properly at all. It was just a case of that's how much he was getting paid for a day, so I just added that onto the price of that day on site. And it was a bit of a knock-on effect for him, I suppose, as well, because I still needed that flexibility. So he wanted to work, but it'd be a case of, well, I can't work tomorrow because I've got hospital or something. Um, so he started suffering because of the finance side and stuff, because I couldn't pay him in full unless he'd been at work.
Yeah. So I guess at this point, then the flexibility is not really working for you. It's putting added pressure onto you. You've now realised that you're not charging correctly, because I take it you weren't pricing jobs. If you're just putting day rates in, it's like, well, I'll charge what, 300 quid a day. I pay my labour out of it. Then you've got your overheads to come out of it. You said that you were paying for marketing to get leads in. So how much is this leaving you with then at the end of every week?
At best, maybe like £1,000 a week was left for me. Sometimes worse than that, to be honest. The overheads do eat a lot, and they were never accounted for. Everything down to the fuel in the van, whatever it was, it just came out of my money, basically.
Yeah. And I think that's the classic mistake, isn't it, that most people make, in the fact that we start off as, let's say, self-employed, right? We say we've got a business, but we aren't really. We've gone self-employed, and we've got to find all our own work. We've got to price all our own jobs. We've got to do all our own marketing. We've got to deal with customers. We've got to deal with bringing subbies in, and we've got to deal with all finances. So we haven't really got a business. We've just created ourselves the world's toughest job, and we've all done it. But from that point, then, what transitioned? Because now you've gone from a tree surgeon to wanting flexibility to running what you're calling a business, but it weren't really. It was just a tough job that you created. What were the transition over to the SprayCork that you're doing so incredibly well with right now?
Again, that actually came from my uncle. He'd been and done the SprayCork training, told me about it, and I started looking into it. And what it offers as a product just seemed like it ticked all the boxes for where we live. So I came up to Corksall and did the course myself.
Right. I tell you what, this uncle of yours sounds like he's an handy guy pointing you in the right direction. So your Corksall then. So just talk to us about that, because obviously I know Jamie and the rest of the team at Corksall, because I've coached Jamie as well. So for those people that don't know about Corksall or what SprayCork is, just give us an idea of what that is, because it's still relatively new to market. But just give us an idea of what that's all around.
Yeah, so SprayCork is a sustainable coating, basically made of ground up cork granules, a water based resin, and then it can be coloured to pretty much any colour you want. We use it internally as an insulating product to control condensation and black spot mold. Personally, I use it externally quite a lot as a render finish because it's flexible, salt air resistant, fade resistant. So it just withstands the weathers that are thrown at it a lot more than traditional renders do. And it's a lot easier to apply because we can just apply it over the existing render as long as it's in good condition. You haven't got to have it all removed and a new system put on. So it becomes more cost effective for the customer as well.
Yeah, yeah, and I, I've seen it. I've done lots of training days and coaching days up with Corksall. Fantastic, fantastic product. But what appealed about this product for you? Because to travel from Devon all the way up to, let's say, up to North Yorkshire, up to Corksall's HQ, there must have been something that appealed to you for you to be able to do that. So what was it?
I think it was mostly just one. It seemed like it was going to work for me down here because of the salt air resistancy and things. It was we could actually solve a problem for people and actually have a solution that worked. But it seemed like the profit margins were so much better on it that we could actually maybe start looking to actually run a business and make some money for the business as not just a wage every week.
Yeah. So now what we're starting to think about is we're starting to think about one of the things that I teach, which is what is the most profitable product and service that we can start to offer, because it's all about the quickest, easiest, risk-free way of making money.
Yeah.
So you've gone up to Corksall, you've done their training, and you've become an approved applicator of Corksall. So how did you get your first job then? Because going from a plasterer into rendering, and in particular into a render that not many people have heard of and may not have still heard of as today, even though it's got more popular. How did you get your first job? Where did it come from?
So the very first job we did was actually for an existing customer of mine that we'd done some plastering works for, and I'd mentioned it to them that we were doing this course and told them about the product, and they got a quote off us straight away and accepted and wanted it done as soon as we'd done the course. Off that, we then just started getting leads sent to us from Corksall in our area. We started doing our own marketing to push it, and over time the leads slowly started to come in.
And at this point, then, are you making more profit than you were as that one man band busy fool plasterer?
Yeah, we were starting to see a bit more money behind us, but the money we were seeing was sort of just digging ourselves out of the hole that we created at this point. It wasn't, we hadn't really turned a corner. We were just floating a bit easier, if you like.
Yeah. And it's around this time around where I went up to Corksall as a speaker at their open day. And to do a bit of coaching with our applicators, and that's how we met, isn't it? Because you went to that open day, and we got chatting around the coaching and how we can help you overcome some challenges you've got. So at this point, then, what was it that appealed to you about what I was saying when I was speaking at their event?
For me, it was actually the story that you tell about when you sat in the lay-by and broke down and everything just sort of went wrong for you. Um, Although I hadn't actually hit that point myself yet, I could just see that's where things were going for us. And it really sort of, I don't know, it sort of hit me. And I was like, I'm going to end up like that because I'm just winging it still. I need some help to build a business out of this, because at the moment I think I had the worry that I was just going to turn SprayCork into what I had with plastering, where it was just going to be a wage at the end of the day. But I had higher hopes for it and really wanted it to be a business. So that story that you told, I was like, I don't want to end up in that position. I need to do something before I get there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you heard me speaking about this then. So what action, just remind everyone, sort of like what action you took on that event to find out more about, let's say, joining my inner circle.
So I actually came over and spoke to you during the lunch break, and sort of said to you I was taken by what you'd said, and I wanted to find out more. And you had your laptop with you, and you said just put your details in there, and I did. And as soon as I clicked submit, my phone just started pinging with text messages, emails, and everything to do with joining the inner circle, testimonial stuff from past inner circle members, and everything. And that just sort of blew me away. I was just like, God, I don't have any of this. It takes me a day to just send a text message back to someone, and that's as soon as I pushed a button. Um, and again, it was something that I just sort of thought we need to operate like this.
Yeah, yeah. Just so having all that automated emails, text pipelines, a marketing strategy basically. That's what it were. So from that point, then you joined my inner circle, right? And it's been around 15 months from us meeting to where we are today. So you've completed my inner circle during that time. And what I would like to do here, Adam, is explore what are the most important areas of business that you learn on the inner circle that you're happy to share with other people, because what you've done and the growth levels you've got to are phenomenal. And I believe, and we were chatting before we started pressing record today about, you becoming a mentor. And this is what I say to all my inner circle members. You guys have got all the knowledge now that I've taught you. You've implemented it. It's working. So what I'd like you to do is share with people in depth what you've actually done. And if people are listening or watching to this episode now, I'd encourage you to get your notepads and your pens out or your tablets and start making notes. Because what I want Adam to do is just share all his strategies. Just tell everybody what you've done and how you've done it so we can help other people. Is that all right with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, Adam, start off then. There's loads that we cover on Inner Circle, but just start off picking out the most important areas that you benefited from personally.
I think the biggest one's mindset. Um, I won't lie, at the start of the inner circle, when you first did that first session on mindset and personal development, there was part of me that thought, what a load of waffle. Like, I don't need any of that. I'm here for my business, not for that. And it was probably the biggest thing I took from it. It really was just, I didn't think I realized how negative I was towards stuff beforehand. I always saw the doom and gloom in every situation rather than the solution and the light at the end of the tunnel. Um, so my mindset shifted massively during it. Even my family say that I'm a different person to what I was at the start of it. Um, Little sayings that you always said, like owning relationships and things, they've stuck with me from that moment. And that's how I deal with every situation now. I enjoy saying no to people now. I'm not that tradesman that just goes, yeah, to everything. The answer's no. And that just had a massive impact on not just the business, but my family life and everything that did. Mindset was massive for me.
Yeah. And I always say the business is never the problem. The problem is always the mindset of the business owner. And if we can switch and shift our mindsets, we can shift and change our lives, which is exactly what you're doing. So, in terms of mindset, then, just share some of the things that you've personally done that's helped you with your mindset, that's made that conditional shift in yourself.
Um, I think like removing the negative people from my life and surrounding myself with people who are a bit more positive or on the same wavelength with business as me and things, that's had a massive, that circle of influence has been really good for me. I had a lot of time drains and negative drains all around me from people where now they're gone. Um, Routines, my routine can go a bit like that at times anyway and go up and down because of how home life is. But I try to keep quite a good routine with everything, and that helps you stay focused and on track to where you want to be. And just the content, before I'd just sit doom scrolling through Facebook, watching anything, any old rubbish on there, where now it's all educational stuff, whether it's to do with my trade or motivational things or anything that sort of is constantly feeding me rather than just draining me.
Yeah, yeah. And it's all about changing them bad habits, isn't it, that we've picked up. We've all got bad habits, whether that's people hitting snooze button in the morning because they're lazy so-and-so's and they can't get their lazy ass out of bed, right? To consuming motivational and educational content, such as this podcast as an example, fit, healthy, weight, diet, alcohol, all that lot is going to have a massive effect, isn't it, on our mental health and well-being. And more importantly, how we perform and how we focus we are moving forward. So just wrapping up on mindset, just share some of the things that you've cut out, some of them bad habits that you've cut out. What are they?
Um, the sort of sitting up till 2 o'clock in the morning, scrolling on Facebook, watching TV or something. We tend to go up to bed at a similar sort of time every night now, and go to sleep fairly quickly afterwards. Morning routines come and go with me, to be honest. I'm always up at a decent time, but it changes day to day. It's not regimental, but it's worked for me because before I used to roll out of bed 20 minutes before I needed to leave the door and just go. Um, and you do notice it. Like by the time I get to site now, I'm a lot more ready for the day of work than I was before. I'd turn up before and sort of be like, "Where's a cup of tea?" and everything else. It'd take me an hour to get going. Um, I'd also just quit smoking before the inner circle, but I've stuck with that now, and I've been nearly 2 years without a cigarette now. So that's been great for my health as well.
Amazing. All right. So mindset's a big A for everyone.
Yeah.
So we've got us mindset, right? We've been developing that. What's next then? What were the next big thing that you implemented and you made changes on?
The marketing side of it was another big one for me. It was probably the main reason I joined the inner circle marketing because, as I said, I was paying for all my leads, and it was costing me a fortune because, as most people will know, with stuff like My Builder, I've still got to pay the fee even if I don't win the job. So it's just cost me for absolutely nothing at that point. So marketing was massive. And actually having a marketing strategy in place instead of just thinking we'll try this, we'll try that, and understanding how those strategies work, and not running before you can walk. Start at the start and actually build it properly.
Yeah. And as part of that, we looked at things like target market, didn't we? Identifying your target market and the attract strategy on how we're going to attract those people to your business. So just talk to us about the importance of nailing down that target market and the messaging to attract those people to us, because there's that many people out there that are moaning and whinging and complaining that they just attract time wasters and tire kickers. and nobody wants to pay my prices, and therefore I've got to lower my prices to compete with everybody else that ain't got a Scooby-Doo what they're doing in business. Doesn't have to be like that, does it?
No, it doesn't. It takes a bit of research to figure it out, trial and error. But it is massively important because you're not only attracting time wasters, I think you're just wasting your own time when you're marketing to the wrong audience, because what do you expect to get back other than a time waster? Um, we all still get them a little bit, but that's where like the vetting process and things comes in as well. For me, I slowly figured out that my target market is 30 to 60-year-old sort of thing, own their own home, probably with children as well, or getting into retirement, and wanted solutions that were going to last for their properties because they were sick of painting the house every year, dealing with cracks in the render every year. Um, and as things have progressed as well, like, you know, the cost in energy bills and everything else now, that's been really big for our marketing because I've tailored a lot of it around the fact that treat it as an investment, because by having this applied and insulating your home, you'll save money on your energy bills. So it gives back. It's not just costing you, it's giving back.
Yeah. And you know what? You just touched on something there, going down sort of like the energy bills and what have you. We call that pain points, don't we?
Yeah.
Pain point marketing. So just explain to anyone that's watching or listening what we mean by pain point marketing.
So basically, people don't just choose to have something done normally. There's a reason behind it, and whatever that reason is the pain point. Whether that's because they need to save money on their energy bills, whether it's because they're sick of the maintenance costs of repairing cracks in their render every year, you know, whether they suffer with black spot mold internally for me, and they're sick of cleaning it, painting it, and it coming back. They're all pain points. And inside that, there's more pain points. So, like with the black spot mold, I always sort of say it's not just about getting rid of it. Like, think about your children's health. They're breathing those particles in your home, and the home's not safe and healthy at that point. That's sort of itching, that pain for them, which then makes them realize they need a solution that actually is going to work and solve it for them.
Yeah. And what we've got to remember, and the big mistake that everybody that I see, other than obviously people on in a circle making, is they're always trying to sell the product or the service and ram it down the throats. In other words, in your case, they're all trying to sell render. Heating engineers are always trying to sell boilers. Builders are always trying to sell extensions. And what we've got to do is we've got to flip that and realize that we are not selling a product or service. We're selling a solution to a problem that our target market have got. And if we can't identify what those pain points are that lead them to either searching Google, picking up phone, and giving a tradesperson a ring to solve the problem, if we don't know what them problems are that we're solving, we're not marketing as businesses correctly, are we?
No,
So
and
with
I think that's the thing is, I never understood any of this at the start of the inner circle. So you were just winging it. You know, my adverts were all, do you need plastering? You know, you need to get SprayCork done. SprayCork's great. No one cares about that. But as soon as I started marketing it down the lines of keep your family safer, warmer, things, don't have your children breathing in mold, people then listen to that because they need a solution to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've got his mindset right. We're working on that. It's starting to work. We've now looked at the marketing strategy and everything else that we bolted onto it. What else? What else did you learn and implement that started working for you?
Video marketing. And again, when you first said about you doing videos, I went, no, I'm not. There's no way I'm getting on a video. Now I love it. I love making the videos now. It pushed me well out of my comfort zone, that did, but I was just determined to overcome it. And it's really helped the video marketing. I do believe they are the most powerful form of marketing because it's easy to read something, but anyone could have typed it and made that up. When you can actually show someone the process of what we do on site for you and show them the benefits in person and things, it's more relatable, it's more believable. So yeah, videos were massive for me. I sort of became obsessed, to be fair. It sort of took over my life for a while, that everything was just like, everything became content, and then everything needed editing and all the rest of it. But it was a massive impact on the business. You know, we get a lot of work off the back of our videos now. And even people that I don't do work for always say, "Oh, I saw your video; it was really good," and things. So it's just building that brand awareness again, I suppose, of people noticing you.
Yeah, 100%. And you travelled all the way up from Devon to Sheffield 2 weeks ago to our Rise of the Trade Summit, and therefore you know that when I delivered that presentation and coaching on the day itself, we've got to build them 4 elements in, haven't we? Know, like, trust, and confidence, and they're 4 emotional triggers that we've got to hit with our target market. And until we hit the know, in other words, how can we get more people to know we exist? Like, how can we get more people to like you, Adam, as opposed to uh, just your personal brand? People are buying from you, not just your logo. The trust, as in video testimonials and reviews. Once we hit them 3 things, it equals that confidence, doesn't it? Which is that emotional trigger that they're confident that you can solve the problem they've got. And videos does that. And you went nuts with videos, didn't you? To say that you didn't want to do them, and everybody's saying in it on I'm not doing videos, I'm not doing videos. But you took it on board, and you started to get the leads coming in, which we'll come on to in a bit. But with video marketing then, Adam, what advice would you give to somebody now that sat there with the same opinion I had back in 2010 when I started video marketing, and you've started it now that we don't want to do it? What advice would you give them?
Just do it. To be honest, like, we're putting those walls in front of ourselves at that point. You know, I was like, oh, I don't like the way I look, I don't like the way I sound. What if people I know see it and take the mick out of it? All that was like just stopping me doing it. And then again, I think it was sort of the way you put it on the inner circle, where it was just like, why would I allow all that to stop me doing something that could make me money and benefit my business and my family? Who cares if someone laughs at it? Let them laugh. If it's working, it's working. I don't really care about if they're laughing anymore. Um, so I just say to people, just have a go. You know, you haven't got anything to lose. Just have a go at it. Start off small. You don't have to, go all out straight away with a 10-minute long video about something. Just dip your toe in the water and just do a little story on Facebook or something of, 10, 20 seconds, just saying this is what you're doing for the day on site or something. And you'll be amazed how supportive people are, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, talking about, we can't talk about video marketing without bringing social media into it, can we? Because, we've talked about identifying that target market. Where do they hang out in the highest concentration? We find them on social media. We create the video content, including pain points. So talk to us about social media, because again, this is something that you weren't doing a lot of before you started in a circle, but now you're all over it.
Yeah, so I wasn't really on social media. To be honest, the only reason I had a Facebook account was for the marketplace thing originally. I had no interest in being on there. But when I started the business, it was free advertisement. So I did. But again, I had no understanding to do with algorithms, to do with this. So in my head, I thought, oh, I'll just whack a post out every week, every 2 weeks of, well, we've just finished doing this, and that'll work. And it really didn't. And now I understand that consistency is the key with it, mixing up the type of content you're putting on there, whether it's business content, personal content, day-to-day life, whatever, how-to videos, all sorts of different content we can do. And whether it's a reel, a story, a general post, all that is, again, from the inner circle. We all learn it on there. But by understanding it all, you can then start to test the waters with it, really. Like, try different types of posts, try different things, see what gets more views on it, more likes on it, and you start to get a feel for what your target market likes and wants to see, and then you can tailor stuff around that a lot more. And I think being on multiple social media sites as well, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and things, having more than one works. I focused on Facebook and Instagram during the inner circle mostly because I know a lot of my target market is older and that's where they are going to be. But this year, I've put a lot into TikTok where I make sure everything goes onto there as well because my future target market is on TikTok. So you've got to spread yourself across all of it, really.
Do you know what you have? And, you've just hit the nail on the head with that, in the fact that, you're now on TikTok, you're getting that brand awareness out there, and people still say to me now, Craig, TikTok, isn't that where like young kids at school do all the silly dancing and stuff like that? And in reality, that's how it started off, TikTok, weren't it?
Yeah.
But now it's become more of a business type of platform because more and more people are taking to TikTok and using it as a search engine, aren't they? As opposed to gonna Google or YouTube, because they can get the knowledge that they're looking for in like 60 seconds or less, rather than sitting through a 20-minute video on YouTube. And what you've just said then, Adam, is bang on. In the fact that all of our future customers and clients are the younger generation. And at some point, as they come through, like my 13-year-old daughter, my 19-year-old daughter, they were brought up with phones in their hands, like your kids were. So they're not going to be using Google to find a tradesman. They're going to be taking to the likes of TikTok to find a tradesman, which is why we're saying, if you're not on things like TikTok, the future generation that comes through are going to be using that and not going to be using Google. You're going to be missing out, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. And again, stuff like LinkedIn, if you're looking for business to business contacts, LinkedIn's brilliant. I've slowly started dipping my toe into that this year. I don't do much on it, but I've started to look at that. And there is the connections you can make through that are incredible.
Yeah. Okay. So now we've nailed us marketing. We've got us videos right. We're blasting social media. Leads are coming in. What else did you learn and implement on in a circle that's massively benefited you?
Systems and procedures, to be honest, I had absolutely nothing beforehand. Even being a few years into business with the plastering, I still had nothing. I had a dirty old notepad with tea stains on it in the van, the little things scribbled on it with no name, no address, no nothing, just a note of something, and I'd sit scratching my head going, which house is that linked to? Embarrassing moments of having to ring customers and sort of getting their address again off them because you can't remember what it was to get to the job. We just had nothing. We had no business bank accounts, no payroll side of things, no accountancy software. We just had absolutely nothing, and it was just let's wing it and it'll work. Where now we run pipelines, funnels all through the CRM. We've got accountancy software. We've got automated emails that go out when everyone fills in our inquiry forms or anything. When we do any of the trade show events, we have a smaller inquiry form at the events, and as soon as they click that, they get ebook guides and links to this and links to that, all automated and sent to them. It's completely different to where it was. I get up in the morning and check the computer, and I can have quotes there ready to go and do now. Where before I'd have probably lost that quote just on a scrap of paper somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so important that, whatever systems people decide to use, it's so important that we get them in, not just from a time-saving point of view from us and getting us more organised, but how much more important and how much more do we wow the customer and create a better customer experience when we've got these automations in. Like you said, when we met at Corksall on that open day, you were impressed by them automated emails and texts, but you're now using them yourself and it's starting to work for you.
Yeah, yeah. And even just the simple things of like an actual vetting form instead of click here to contact us. Like that's saved me so many hours of my life driving to time wasters. Some of my leads can be literally 2-3 hours drive for me to go and do that site survey. And before, I'd just drive it with no information, no nothing, and hope that we were getting that job. Where now the answer's fill in the inquiry form, give me the information we need. We'll provide you with an estimate based on that information. If that meets your budget and you're happy with everything, I'll then make the drive and do the actual site survey for you.
Yeah, so important, isn't it, that we're vetting everybody up front, so we're not wasting that valuable time going and dealing with time wasters and tire kickers. What else did you benefit from? What else did we do that made a significant difference?
The cash and finance month, again, has been a massive impact for us because I had no understanding of net profit, gross profit, all the different taxes and everything else to do with it. So even when we were probably actually making good money, we were almost losing it and giving it away for no reason because we just didn't understand how any of it worked. And leaving ourselves open as well at times of missing tax deadlines and all those sort of things. So that month was really important for me because we now understand how to price jobs properly. We understand our profit margins, our gross and net. We understand our deadlines for tax, VAT, CIS payments, and all the rest of it. I mean, I wasn't even aware of CIS payments. It was just sort of they're self-employed, aren't they? So I just pay them and they deal with their tax themselves. Where that was another sort of area we were leaving ourselves open to. So now we understand it. We run monthly cash flow like figures and charts so that we understand where our money's at. We change our pricing when we need to, so that it matches what we need coming in, and we can forecast ahead now of things, especially when we've been really busy and been like 6 months ahead with work or whatever. We can think, well, do we up our prices slightly now and see if that works or not? And if it doesn't, you've still got the cushion of work to say, okay, no, we can bring them back down now and we've not lost anything.
Yeah. Massively important. And the podcast that went out yesterday morning for this week's podcast was all around the 3 biggest mistakes that people make in the business when it comes to money. Number 1, without a shadow of a doubt, is nobody understands the numbers. It's crazy. We're in the business of making profit, right? And it doesn't matter how much profit you make, you've got to make a profit, or otherwise, what's the point? People don't understand things like gross profit, net profit, balance sheets, break-even figures, overhead contributions, and they need to. Number 2, I covered off the fact that most people don't know how to price jobs correctly. Doing what we've always done. Oh, this is how much it's going to cost for labour. This is how much it's going to cost for materials. How much money can I just whack on top for a drink for me? And then putting prices in. Or, and we've all done this one, you're about to put your price in and you look at it and go, fucking hell, that looks a bit minty. I'll tell you what I'll do. How much shall I knock off? Oh, I'll just knock 500 quid off when we pick these random numbers out, don't we? And knock it off. And the third thing is cash flow, making sure that we've got a positive cash flow and that we're not falling into debt, so that when we do start making money, we're having to bail ourselves out to start off with the debt that we've put ourselves in the first place. So what advice, given the fact that we're talking about this then, Adam, what advice would you give to somebody about if they sat there now going, do you know what? I don't know my numbers. I don't know how to price jobs. I don't know what positive and negative cash flow is. If someone was sat in the same position that you were in, day rates and all this nonsense, what advice would you tell them and give them to do with the numbers in the business?
First, speak to your accountant if you've got one. If not, get a decent accountant. And if your accountant isn't giving you the information you want, again, get a decent accountant, because that's what you're paying them for. It is to help you understand all this and to help you make sure it's all right. And again, listen to the podcast episode that you've just said. If anyone's part of the Growth Club, I'm sure there's something in the Growth Club as well to do with cash and finance in the classroom section. just learn about it, educate yourself on it, because it really is important. And you'll be amazed how quickly your cash flow can change once you understand it. I mean, we weren't taking deposits or anything before. Um, I was literally waiting to get paid from one job, pay the labourer, and then use every penny left to buy the materials for the next job. Where now we've got, payment terms and conditions in place. We take 50% deposits up front. We take booking fees on acceptable proposals, and it just it's constant now. The cash flow's just there, where we can say we always know the money's there to pay for this, that, this, or the other, because we're making sure we're taking it at the right stages during jobs and not just leaving it all till the end of a job and hoping that that customer then actually pays us.
Yeah. And do you know what? This is actually music to my ears, this, because just thinking about back to where you were when you started with me on Inner Circle, and listening to you talking like you are now, like we said at the beginning of this episode, like becoming a mentor. It's great to hear you're talking like this, Adam, because I'm banging the drum about it, but the fact that you live in proof that all this works, I'm really hoping that people take notice of what you're saying, because this is great. Now,
No, it does. It really does work. You've got to dedicate to it, and you've got to be prepared to actually do it and put in the work. But if you do, you will get the results from it. You really will. Um, Even silly things like um, like your proposals. Mine used to be a Word document, one page. They're now personalised to every customer with photos of their house on it, samples of the colour they want. It's a 4 or 5 page presentation to them. Those little things really make a difference and set you apart from your competition. And you can learn all that in the Inner Circle.
yeah. So listen, you've learned a lot, you've implemented it, and you've come out to the other side in a circle now. So just talk to us about some stats and numbers on business evaluation, because on the Inner Circle, we evaluate you at 3 different points, don't we? So we can see your growth and what's happening. And we need to start off somewhere. So month number 1, we start off with doing a full-blown business evaluation of your business. So just share with us what that figure was, and just explain how you got to that figure.
Um, so, so my business was running at 6% basically when I started the Inner Circle, which was a shock, to be fair, because when you asked us to have a guess at what we thought it'd be running at, I think I guessed at around 20% or something. So it was quite shocking to realise it was 6%. We work out that percentage by going through the different areas of the business and ticking yes, we've got that and use that, or no, we haven't. And then we do the calculations. It gives us that percentage.
So you're currently running at 6% on day 1 at Inner Circle. Then at halfway point, 6 months through, we do it again, don't we? So just share with us what your growth has been over them first 6 months.
In the first 6 months, it was 350% growth.
And that is down to some of the areas that we've just been talking about that you've put into your business, isn't it?
Yeah, so it was down to the mindset and the marketing and things, because that was like the early part of the Inner Circle of what we'd covered. So from that, yeah, we'd had 350% growth.
Amazing. And then it doesn't stop there, does it? Because second off at program, we covered all the other things like cash and finance, systems, building your team, sales, and all that stuff. So just share this staggering figure of where you were at on the final day of the Inner Circle in terms of growth.
So our overall growth at the end of the Inner Circle was 783%, which it blew my mind, to be honest, when we worked that out to it, because at the start, I didn't think I'd get anywhere near that. I thought maybe a couple of 100% growth or something. But at the start of the Inner Circle, I actually made a little note before we did the vision boards and stuff. I made a note back at New Year, and I put it on the fridge saying a 100% commitment to the inner circle for 12 months, which is exactly what I did. And I believe that's why we achieved that 783%.
Yeah, staggering figures. 700. I mean, most people can dream about growing the business or doubling the size of it. You know, you basically 7 times the growth of your business in all different areas combined, which is phenomenal. So massive well done on that, Adam. Okay. In terms of the inner circle, then, you said to me that you were concerned. I remember having that conversation that we had before you joined it, and you were concerned about finances because back then you were that plasterer, weren't you? And all you were doing were plaster work. So talk to us about, you know, your concerns and how that sort of like materialized through the inner circle in terms of you being able to afford to invest into it.
So yeah, that conversation we had, I just said I really wanted to do the inner circle. I was just really concerned of meeting the monthly payments because our work was drips and drabs. You know, we might be 2 weeks to 4 weeks ahead of ourselves at times. And it was a big concern of if I sign up to this and then can't meet the payments, what am I going to do? And you said to me by month 6, you won't worry about meeting these payments if you put your head into it. And you were exactly right. We weren't worried by month 6.
So by month 6, you're making enough profit to have been able to, you know, easily afford inner circle anyway. But talk to us about, it's not just about the money, is it? Because what you've gone through here is a massive transformation. In the fact that you joined the inner circle as a busy fool plasterer, right? A sole trader, one-man band, jobbing about, charging 300 quid on a day rate and not knowing what's happening. To now, you've come out the other side and all the work that you are doing now is cork, SprayCork, isn't it? There's no plastering. There's none of that. So just talk to us about the type of work you're doing now and how booked up you've been and are.
So all our work now is with SprayCork, whether it's an overspray or a full render system that's finished in SprayCork. I think in the last 18 months, I've probably done 2 little bathroom ceilings for people that I know plastering. We just don't get phone calls for that anymore. I say at the start of the inner circle, we were scratching for 4 weeks' work at a time. By month 6, we were about 6 months booked up ahead of ourselves with work, which was just incredible. And then by month 9, we were around 9 months ahead with work. Like I did a trade show in the September of the year of my inner circle, and people were like, "What's your availability?" And I was saying May next year. And I don't think they believed me, to be honest. I don't think they did, but it really was. We were that booked up.
And in terms of profits, then, so you're booked up, everything's working right for you. You're doing the type of work that you want to do that's making you the profit, i.e., spray coke and not just skimming people's ceilings anymore. So talk to us about your profit percentage growth, because this has shot up as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. So our profit had gone up by about 103% over that time on the inner circle. And that was even with investing into the inner circle and investing into new softwares and all the rest of the things that we were doing. We were still seeing 103% growth on our profit.
Yeah. Incredible. So we've grown as business massively. We've changed business vehicles completely. We're now attracting the right target market. We know the numbers in as business. We're booked up 9 months in advance and we're making profit. It don't get much better than that, does it?
No, no, it was. It did feel like a dream, to be honest. It was sort of like, is this real? Is this actually happening? And do we actually understand why it's happening for a change instead of not having a clue?
Yeah. Okay. So from that, then, you know, that brings us up to the present day and where you are on your journey. So what does the future look like now for Adam and Adam's business, LM Finishers? What's happening in the future? What's the plans?
So we're looking for bigger contracts now. Starting to talk with some construction companies and things about having us as a regular render system. We've been doing trials with ICF build companies so that they've got something that they can offer with their systems and builds. Local councils and things to look at the social housing problem with black spot mold and different things. And we're starting to want to work on some sort of like training academy for SprayCork applicators down this end of the country, so that it's a bit more easy access for people than the long journeys.
Yeah, yeah. And and just listening to what you're saying now, I mean, you can start to like see the bigger plan and the growth that's coming. But the thing is now, whatever direction we're going to take this business in now, we know, and more importantly, that you've got all your ducks in a row in the fact that you know what marketing you need to do. You've got the systems in place to cope with the leads coming in. You've got the numbers right in the business so you know what profit you're starting to make. So it makes sense now. You've got everything in place to upscale it and maybe do go for them bigger contracts, maybe hundreds and hundreds of thousands, or maybe even millions of pounds if you're getting with local authorities and housing associations and things like that. So that's the plan.
Yeah, that's the plan. And to help other business owners, I suppose. I actually, before recording this today with you, I've been trading messages with someone that's recently started working with SprayCork, and has been following me for the last year or so, and was quite inspired by the journey. And he's been on holiday down in Devon, and they were on the way home this morning, and he dropped me a message and said, "Can we meet for a coffee? I'd just love to pick your brains and have a chat with you, and meet you." So I had about an hour and a half with him before recording this, just to see if we can give him a bit of advice off everything we've learned, and help him move forward with it as well.
Yeah, amazing. And again, coming back to your marketing and that you are now the number one SprayCork applicator down in Devon and on that south coast, and your authority that you're building with your marketing and your videos, that know, like, trust, and confidence. The fact that you've got other people that are planning on doing what you do are wanting time spent with you just because to prove that you've got the knowledge, you know what you're doing. We just need to ramp it all up.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think that's something else that has changed with my mindset. There was a time that if someone had messaged me saying, "Oh, can I pick your brains about this?" I'd been like, "No, I'm not telling you nothing about my business. Why am I going to help you? You're competition." Where now I'm the other way, where I sort of welcome the competition and I go, "That's fine," because it isn't really competition to me because I set myself apart from you. So that's absolutely fine. I'll
Yeah.
help you instead of looking down at you or whatever.
Yeah, amazing. And what a great mindset to have. And when other like this guy that you've met up with this morning, he'll be leaving having picked your brains for an hour and a half, and he'll be leaving with uh an opinion and a presence of you and your business being at this height. And they're gonna have to play catch up now, aren't they, to get to you? And I know they won't because you're always going to be ahead of them, but they're not leaving going, oh, fucking this, fucking that, they didn't help me, what a tosser, and all this lot. They're not saying that. They'll be leaving going, what a top guy Adam is, what a nice guy he is, and he's prepared to help. And that reciprocation in business, that law of attraction comes back. That'll come back to you 100%. So with this then, Adam, my final question to you is this. You set out on this journey in 2021 to get that flexibility mainly in your life for your family. You said that you weren't achieving it because of all the mistakes you'd made. But now, if I were to ask you the question, have you achieved that goal that you wanted and got that flexibility in your life for you and your family? What would you tell me?
Yeah, definitely. I don't worry anymore. If something comes up, I'm flexible. I don't go to work. I haven't got to panic because of finances, where I think, well, if I don't go to work, we're going to struggle, because it's like, it's fine. I can afford to take that time off. Um, I don't miss things anymore with the children of anything at school or hobbies and football clubs and things. I go to everything unless I choose not to because of something else. It's become a choice. It's like you say, of a work-life choice, not a work-life balance, and that's exactly what I've got now from the back of the inner circle, basically.
Yeah, amazing. Well, listen, it's been absolute pleasure to have seen your journey at first hand, how you've come on across this, let's say, last 15 months from initially meeting you. And what I'm going to do, Adam, is if it's okay with you, I am sure there'll be people that are watching this now that might want to reach out to you and contact you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop your contact details, if you're all right with this, into the show notes and the description of this episode. So if anybody wants to contact you, they can. But if they do want to reach out to you, what's the best platform or the best way of them being able to do it?
If they want to reach out to me, that's more than happy to help anyone, chat to anyone. You can either drop me a WhatsApp message or send me an email, and I'll get back to you. If it's on a social media, I'd say go through Facebook because that's checked more regularly.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for giving up your time. I really do appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the next 12-month growth of your business and seeing where that takes you. But I sincerely appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Been a pleasure.
Well, what an incredible journey it's been for Adam over this last 15 months. And do you know what? I am so proud and pleased for him that he's now achieved his goal that he wanted to achieve, which was having that flexibility of time to spend with his family and his loved ones. But not only that, he's now making the profit that he deserves for all the hard work and graft that he's put into his business. So if you're sat there thinking, Craig, I could do with the same help and support in my business, please consider joining our inner circle by clicking on the link in the show notes and the description of this episode so you can find out more about what it is and how it works. And hopefully in 15 months' time, I'll be sat here with you delivering similar results. So thank you for joining me on today's episode. I'll meet you all at the top and I'll see you next week. Thank you.